Hello, my name is Kseniya Matusevich, and this is my Do Something Unreported project for BBE 1201. Starting with some background information on my residence, I live in Shakopee, Minnesota, in a 4-bedroom, 3-bathroom house of 2,236 square feet. I live with my parents, my younger brother, and our dog. On average, a suburban home in the United States uses about 10.5 kilowatt hours of electricity per year, or 875 kilowatt hours per month. In comparison, in the last few months, my house has been using an average of 495 kilowatt hours per month, which is considered to be on the good side of the efficient home spectrum. To get the bigger picture, I looked at the biggest energy users of US suburban homes. The biggest one is air conditioning at 16.9% of total energy consumption, followed by space heating at 14.8% and water heating at 13.7%. The rest is distributed between lighting, refrigerators, TVs, and other categories. I began my home energy audit process in mid-October. In order to keep track of the time use of all the devices that I intended to measure, I told all my family members to write down the time they start and stop using a certain device in the tables I printed out for them. This table is a digitalized version that I created at the end of the tracking period, which lasted for a week from October 21st to October 27th. This table is an example of how all of my family tracked the use of the kitchen light bulbs. This is a compilation of all of the measurements taken by me and my family for all the devices, which include the light bulbs, the TV and the Xbox, living room fairy lights, a record player, a toaster, and then a computer charger and a dryer. The latter two are variable power devices, which I measured separately. The bottom row shows the average amount of hours each device was used per day. Here is the data I collected using a kilowatt meter for my constant power devices. My TV and Xbox use 20 watts when off, and they use 69 watts and 30 watts when on, respectively. The toaster uses 775 watts when on. The fairy lights and the record player are very small users, consuming 8 watts and 2 watts, respectively. The 3 light bulbs that I measured, all connected to one switch, are 6.5 watts each, which is easier to see on the zoomed-in fragment in the left corner of the picture. My variable power devices are my computer charger, which I plugged in for 26 hours and it used 0.043 kilowatt hours of electricity, and my dryer, which we use 2 cycles a week, and 1 cycle I measured to consume 0.288 kilowatt hours. In order to quantify my findings, I did some calculations described here. To find the daily use of a constant power device, like my TV, I multiply the power on, 69 watts, by average hours on, 4.084, and then add that to power off, 20 watts, multiplied by hours off, 19.95. The total daily use of a TV is 678.3 watt hours a day. For a variable power device like my computer charger, I first find the hourly use by dividing the total use, 0.043 kilowatt hours, by the number of hours I measured for, 26. Then I multiply this number by 24 hours to get 39.7 watt hours, daily use of my computer charger. For a cycle device, such as my dryer, I first find the number of cycles per week by dividing 2, which is the amount of cycles we go through per week, by 7 days in a week. Then I multiply this number of the dryer's use in one cycle, 0.288 kilowatt hours, to get 0.0824 kilowatt hours per day. For a light bulb, I find that 3 of them use 6.5 times 3, or 19.5 watts. I multiply 19.5 watts by the average hours on per day, which is 3.155, and get 61.52 watt hours a day. After all the measurements and calculations, I put my data for all the appliances in this big table where you can see all the hours, powers on and off, calculated watt hours a day, and the total for all of the devices, which turned out to be 44.5 kilowatt hours per month. According to my data, 44.5 kilowatt hours of electricity I measured is about 9% of my actual average monthly use, which is 495 kilowatt hours. It is not a big number, and that is because a lot of my big users, like the refrigerator, the microwave, and the washing machine, showed overload when I tried measuring them with my device. However, I can still get a good picture of who my big users are. The two big users are the TV and the Xbox. Therefore, I decided that by hitting the switch into which one those two are plugged in, I would be able to save a lot of electricity when they're not used. In fact, if my family cuts down on the phantom power use of those two devices, we could save up to 828 watt hours a day, which is 24.8 kilowatt hours a month, a whole 5% over total electricity consumption. This is crazy savings, and all it takes is to hit the switch. Thank you very much.